What if the reason you're unhappy has nothing to do with what's happening around you, but everything to do with how you see it? We spend so much of our lives chasing peace, only to realize, too late, that the peace we long for was always within us, hidden, not in the absence of chaos, but in the way we respond to it. There is only one path to true happiness, and it begins the moment you stop obsessing over things beyond your control. You see, it's not the events themselves that hurt us. It's our interpretation. It's the meaning we assign to them. If something external disturbs your peace, it's not the thing itself that has power over you. It's the way you've chosen to view it. And that, my friend, is something you can change in an instant. One of the greatest traps we fall into is constantly waiting. Waiting for tomorrow, waiting for the perfect moment, the ideal outcome. And in that waiting, we forfeit the only time that truly belongs to us. Now ask yourself, what exactly are you chasing? Where are your eyes fixed? The future is a fog, undefined and unpredictable. And while you're planning what destiny controls, you abandon what is already in your hands. Live now. Live immediately. Most people aren't shaken by life itself. They're shaken by their thoughts about life. Even something as heavy as death held no fear for Socrates. Why? Because he didn't see it as something terrifying. It's not death itself that scares us, it's our idea of it, our assumptions, our fears, our distorted views. So the next time you're upset, ask yourself, is it truly the world that's wrong? Or is it the lens through which you're seeing it? Blaming others for our suffering is the reflex of someone untrained. Blaming ourselves is the mark of one who's beginning to learn. But blaming no one, not others, not even ourselves, that is the wisdom of someone who has truly awakened. We waste the daylight worrying about the night, and we spend the night fearing the dawn. But the wise don't mourn what they lack. They celebrate what they already have, live a life of virtue. If there are gods and they are just, they will honor you for how you lived, not how loudly you worshipped. If the gods are unjust, then why worship them at all? And if there are no gods, then you will still have lived nobly, and your legacy will echo in the hearts of those you touched. You don't need a new place to escape your troubles. You need a new mindset, a new you. Happiness doesn't live in some distant future, it's in the present, in appreciating what we have without anxiety, without clinging to fantasies or fears. The one who understands this wants for nothing, because the greatest blessings aren't far away. They're already within you, and they're waiting for you to notice. So, once you stop chasing what's out of reach, and start finding joy in what's already within, you unlock a different kind of strength. A strength that no circumstance can steal. A truly happy life doesn't require riches, applause, or comfort. It simply needs a mind, steady, fearless, and free. Imagine a mind so grounded that neither fear nor desire can touch it. A mind that sees virtue as the only true good, and baseness, the only true evil. Everything else? Just fleeting shadows, things that pass through our lives without adding or subtracting from our deepest sense of peace. When you live from this place, cheerfulness is no longer an occasional guest. It becomes a permanent resident. Why? Because you no longer rely on outer pleasures. You draw joy from the well within, and that well never runs dry. When someone wrongs you, don't react, reflect. Ask yourself, what is their definition of good and evil? Once you understand that, your anger dissolves. If their view mirrors your own, then you'll find yourself forgiving them, because in their shoes you might have done the same. But if their ideas are far from yours, it becomes even easier to let go, because you see clearly that they're just lost, confused, and trapped in a moral fog. Real wealth, you see, isn't in having many things, but in needing very few. Don't explain your values, embody them. First, tell yourself the kind of person you want to be. Then walk as if that person already exists within you. If someone has the power to make you angry, they've become your master. They rule your emotions, but only because you've handed them the reins. Circumstances don't define who you are, they reveal it. So instead of wishing events would go your way, try this. Wish for them to unfold exactly as they are meant to. That simple shift brings peace beyond imagination. You were entrusted to yourself, your life, your choices, your reactions, and they are yours to govern. No one is truly free unless they are the master of their own mind. And remember this, a good man doesn't act for show. He does what's right, simply because it is right. Live in harmony with your nature, and you'll never feel poor. Live chasing other people's approval, and you'll never feel rich. Every cruelty, every harsh word, every outburst is born from weakness, not strength. And what's the sign of a strong, well-ordered mind? It's the ability to pause, to stop running, to sit in stillness, and feel at home in your own company. A true gift lies not in the object given, but in the spirit behind it. It's not the act, it's the intention. Yet we often live as if we're immortal in our desires, chasing endlessly, and mortal in our fears, running from every shadow. But here's the truth. If you don't know where you're going, no wind will ever be favorable. You act like you'll live forever. But how much of your life have you already spent without even noticing it slipping away? You give your time away like it's endless. But what if today, this very moment, is the last one you get? The soul takes on the shape of your thoughts. So protect your mind. And finally, begin each day with this quiet vow. Today I will face obstacles, but I will not be moved. So, once you accept what is and choose to respond with clarity instead of resistance, something powerful shifts. You stop fighting reality and start flowing with it, like a river embracing its course. Ingratitude, arrogance, betrayal, hostility, selfishness. We encounter these in people every day to us, and it's easy to feel hurt or angered. But what if these flaws are not rooted in malice but in ignorance? People act wrongly not because they are evil by nature, but because they do not understand what is truly good or what is truly harmful. And once you see that clearly, their actions no longer have the power to injure your peace. I've come to understand the nature of virtue, its quiet nobility, and I've seen the nature of vice, small, weak, and dishonorable. And those who act wrongly, they are not enemies. They are my brothers, not by blood, but by the deeper bond of reason, of shared humanity, of divine essence. So how can I hate them? How can I be angry at someone who is like me, trying to find their way, stumbling through shadows, not knowing better? We were born to work together, like the two hands of the same body, like eyelids blinking in unison, or teeth aligning to speak and eat. To oppose each other is to go against nature itself, and irritation, resentment, hatred, they are nothing but forms of internal resistance, a resistance to what is. When someone speaks poorly of you, there's no need to explain yourself. Just smile and say, if he truly knew all my flaws, he would have had much more to say. It's a strange thing, how we often hurt ourselves more by holding on to bitterness than by the offense itself. So much suffering comes not from what happens, but from our refusal to accept that it has happened. We expect the world to follow our personal blueprint, and when it doesn't, we resist. And the farther reality is from our expectation, the more we suffer. But the world does not exist to meet our expectations. It simply is what it is. What if we learn to accept that? What if instead of cursing fate, we began to love it? That is the heart of the Stoic idea, amor fati, to love one's fate. It doesn't mean we surrender to injustice or pretend wrong is right. It means we stop fighting the present moment. We observe reality, not through tinted lenses of emotion, but with clear eyes. We see what is, and from there we act wisely. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means clarity. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. It's the strength to say, this is how the world is right now, and from this truth I begin. Only when we see things as they are, free of personal bias, detached from emotional projections, do we gain the power to discern what is within my control and what is not. And in that awareness, we reclaim our freedom. Once we accept what is beyond our control, we unlock the clarity to focus on what truly is ourselves. And that's where all meaningful change begins. When you feel a surge of anger towards someone, pause. Not to suppress it, but to understand it. Ask yourself, what led them here? What pain might they carry? What wounds, invisible to the eye, shaped their actions? It's easy, far too easy, to judge from our own perspective. But can you, just for a moment, step into their shoes? What might you find there? A long struggle, a deep fear, a heavy burden. Most people are just doing the best they can, with what little strength, clarity, or love they've been given. Yes, we are all responsible for our actions. But often what we call bad behavior is the residue of unhealed experiences, pain that never got a voice. One of life's quiet ironies is this: humans spend their lives chasing comfort. We crave it, build our lives around it, eliminate pain, dodge hardship, seek softness at every turn. And in moderation, but for survival, for safety, that makes perfect sense. But beyond survival, too much comfort becomes its own kind of suffering. Instead of pushing past our limits, we shrink our comfort zone. Instead of expanding, we contract, and what's left behind? A life stripped of resilience, a spirit dulled by ease, a mind grown fragile in the absence of challenge. Comfort unchecked can become a cage. That's why the Stoics embraced voluntary hardship. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, slept on hard ground. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, chose to bathe in icy rivers during winter. Why? Because they understood this truth. If you don't challenge yourself, the world eventually will, and you may not be ready. That's the paradox of strength. It's built not in luxury, but in discomfort. And day by day, most of us forget that. We also forget something even more sobering. Death is not far away. We act as if we're eternal, postponing, procrastinating, promising to live later. But death is always just a few steps behind. Thus, this could be your last sunrise, your last conversation, the last time you taste something you love or hear the rustling of wind through leaves. The Stoics called this practice memento mori. Remember, you must die. But it wasn't morbid. It was a reminder to live more fully, to savor what is, to embrace what might never come again, to find gratitude in the tiniest, most fleeting details of life, because life is not static, it's motion, ever-changing like the tides. From the first stirrings of the universe, elements collided to create clouds and planets and then life. Eventually, that same matter came together in the exact, impossible configuration that created you, just like a wave. It begins, it rises, and then to walk it crashes. And from its crash, something new is born. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are part of this sacred cycle. Born, experienced, dissolved, and returned. Returned so that others may live, grow, and feel the miracle of existence, just as you have. This sacred impermanence is not something to fear. It is something to revere. From the shifting stars in the sky to the quiet breath in your lungs, everything changes. And to live fully is to live with that awareness. Change is not the exception in life. It is the rule. From the vast spirals of galaxies to the tiniest atoms in our bodies, the entire universe is in motion. Nothing stays still. Nothing lasts forever. And yet, we often chase permanence, as if our happiness depends on big accomplishments, grand milestones, or the things we accumulate. But the truth, a meaningful life isn't made in moments of glory. It's shaped quietly by our daily habits, the decision to rise a little earlier, to step outside and breathe the fresh air, to move your body, to dust off the book that's waited far too long, to look someone you love in the eyes and really be there. These small choices made consistently build the foundation for a joyful life. Sure, big achievements matter, but they come and go. Habits, the ones you repeat without applause, are the real architects of your well-being. There's a balance we must strike between the future and the past. The future is a canvas for planning, preparing, dreaming. But if we gaze too long at that distant horizon, we miss the miracle unfolding right beneath our feet. And the past, it's a teacher, full of wisdom. But if you cling to it, you become a ghost in your own life, haunted by what was instead of present to what is. Yes, the future can guide you. Yes, the past can inform you. But life, true, vibrant, breathing life, only ever exists now. 1. Day, like all living things, I will meet death. I don't know when, I don't know how. It might be tomorrow, it might be in 20 years, but I know this. When it comes, it will not ask my permission. And so while I live, I will live well. I will not waste the time I do have grieving the time I don't. I will use what is within my control and choose to be here with intention. Now, don't mistake my words for comfort. I'm not here to minimize your sorrow. If grief could change fate, then let's cry until the heavens open. Let every sunrise be a funeral, every night a vigil of mourning. Let your chest bruise from anguish, your face wear the marks of heartbreak. If it would bring your loved one back, I would join you. But if death will not bargain, if no sorrow can reverse its grip, then let the mourning end. Let us stop, drifting aimlessly in the tides of pain. Let us reclaim the rudder of our soul chi and steer forward, because he who surrenders the wheel, who lets the waves carry him without direction, is not living. And you still have wind in your sails. So don't waste it, so don't let grief steer your life off course. You can't stop the storm, but you can still hold the wheel. A coward lets go of the helm, abandons the ship, and leaves his fate to the storm. But the one who grips it tightly, who faces the roaring sea with courage, even knowing the waves, may claim him. That one is worthy of honor even in shipwreck, because it's not about surviving at all costs. It's about how you face the storm. Never let the future disturb you. Why worry about what hasn't arrived? When it comes, if it comes, you will meet it with the same strength, the same clarity, the same weapons of reason that you're using. To face today, yes, even the wise suffer. They feel pain, heartbreak, loss. They grieve for friends, mourn for children, and ache when their homeland is torn by war. But do not mistake strength for stone. Stoicism doesn't make you inhuman. It makes you real, someone who feels everything deeply, but does not become enslaved by emotion. You see, the fool is carried away by first impressions. He sees misfortune and instantly believes it is as terrible as it looks. He agrees with fear. He accepts panic. He confirms the illusion, but the wise man may flinch, he may go pale, his face may briefly show pain, but inside he stands firm. He does not agree with the terror. He knows this, too, is just an appearance. Fear feeds on illusion, and he refuses to give it fuel. Have you forgotten? Life is a battlefield. Some of us are watchmen, some are messengers, some fight on the front line, but all of us are soldiers in this long campaign called existence. You've been stationed at your post, not randomly, not briefly, but for life. So stand tall, do your duty, endure, respond, adapt, and above all, Don't wish for things to happen your way. Wish for them to happen exactly as they do. That is peace. The central task of life is not to control everything. It's to understand what you can control and what you can't. Say to yourself, this belongs to fate. I release it. This belongs to me. I will choose wisely. Good and evil do not live in the events outside you. They live in your response, in your perception, in your will. Seek virtue not for reward, not out of fear, not for praise. Seek it because it is beautiful, because it is yours to hold, because even the gods themselves in all their power are happy only through one thing, the right use of what is within their control. And that same power lives in you. So if the task of life is to master what lies within, then the wisdom is this: focus only on what you can control and release the rest. We must fix our attention fully, not partially, not occasionally, but completely on the things that lie within our control. As for everything else, entrust it to the universe. Let it go, for what truly disturbs us is not the events themselves, but the stories we tell ourselves about them. It's not the storm, it's our belief that it shouldn't be raining. It's not rejection. It's the meaning we attach to being unwanted. And when those stories go unchecked, we suffer needlessly. The uninstructed man blames the world for his misfortune. The student of wisdom begins to see that perhaps he is to blame, but the one who has truly matured, he blames neither himself nor others. He simply sees. Who are you? Why were you born? What is this world? And what is your place in it? If you cannot answer these questions, if you cannot distinguish between good and evil, between truth and illusion, between what is within and what is beyond, then you will never follow reason. Your choices will be led by impulse, your fears by confusion, your desires by delusion. You will wander through life as if blindfolded, thinking you are wise, when in fact you are merely asleep. Is this new? Not at all. This blindness has followed humankind since the beginning. It is ignorance, not fate, that creates most of our misfortunes. We are all chained to fortune. Some wear gold chains, others rusted ones. Some have long leashes, some barely any slack, but does it matter? Hair cage made of diamonds is still a cage. Titles bind some. Wealth imprisons others. For some it is their own pride. For others, their humility. Some are enslaved by outer forces, but many more obey a tyrant within: fear, ego, insecurity. All of life in some form is limitation. So what do? We adapt. We make the most of our circumstances. We stop fighting reality and begin shaping it. Even the bitterest cup holds something the calm mind can sip. Even the smallest room can become a sanctuary with the right light. Even the hardest burden feels lighter when lifted with wisdom. Apply reason to hardship and it will soften. Redefine your limits and they will expand. Reshape your perspective and what once felt unbearable becomes manageable. If something outside disturbs you, remember, it is not the thing itself, but your estimation of it, and that you have the power to change. So don't confuse things. You may be richer than me, but that only makes your bank account greater, not your soul. You may speak more fluently, but that only means your style is sharper, not your worth. You are not your wealth. You are not your eloquence. You are not your job, your looks, your applause. You are the choices you make, the principles you stand on. The habits you reinforce aren't in moment by moment, so be careful. If you give in to anger, it's not just a passing emotion. You've just strengthened the habit of rage. If you surrender to temptation, it's not a harmless slip. You've made your weakness a little stronger, because every action shapes the next. Every response becomes reinforcement. Every indulgence becomes a pattern. just like a body recovering from illness. Even after the fever breaks, it's never quite the same. Healing takes time, and so does self-mastery. So practice, patiently. Fail, but fail better. Fall, but rise wiser. And remember, the more you choose the good, the stronger it becomes. If every habit reinforces a part of who we become, then how carefully must we choose what we repeat? The mind, like the body, remembers its injuries. Every outburst of anger, every indulgence in fear, every lapse in discipline, they leave marks. And if you don't heal them properly, those old wounds become vulnerabilities. The next time you're hit in the same place, it won't just blister, it may break. So if you wish to master your temper, start by starving it. Don't give anger food. Don't justify it. Don't make it a habit. In the beginning, you'll fail. That's normal. But measure progress honestly. I used to be angry every day, then every other day, then every third. If you make it 30 days without anger, offer thanks. Not for perfection, but for awareness and growth. Even something as simple as getting out of bed can be a moment of stoic strength. When you feel the pull of the blankets, ask yourself, was I born to lie in warmth, or to do the work of a human being? You weren't made for comfort, you were made for purpose. It's only when we begin to do without certain things that we realize we never needed them in the first place. We used them because they were there, not because they were essential. Want peace? Then do less. Or more precisely, do only what matters. Do what your nature, your conscience, your higher purpose demands of you, and do it well. When we strip away the unnecessary, we gain time, clarity, and inner stillness. Ask yourself throughout the day, is this necessary? That one question can reshape your entire life. Wealth itself is not evil, but it tempts us to do evil. It stirs ambition without wisdom, desire without restraint. So, too with physical discipline, it has value but only if done sincerely. If you train your body to master cravings, you grow stronger. But if you do it for praise, to impress, to appear noble, you betray the discipline itself. As Apollonius once said, if you truly desire self-control, wait until you're suffocating. From heat, then take a mouthful of cold water and spit it out. And tell no one, because what is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee. Justice, real justice, begins with your own actions. It's not a speech, it's a way of living where thought becomes action, and action serves the common good. Yet most people care less about living well, and more about living long. But here's the truth. Living nobly is within every person's reach. Living forever is not. Like a runner in a race, strive with all your might. Give your best, but do not trip the one beside you to reach the finish line. Don't push them down to raise yourself up. It is fair to seek what benefits you, but it is never right to take it at the expense of another. Because for humankind, the true evil is injustice. If true evil is injustice, then true virtue must be love. Love expressed through justice, compassion, and concern for others. Cruelty, apathy, and turning a blind eye to the suffering of others. These are the marks of a fractured soul. But virtue is brotherhood, it is kindness in action. It is justice, empathy, generosity. A heart that cares not just for itself, but for the welfare of its neighbor. The truly courageous person, whether at home or in exile, remains unshaken. Because their courage is not tied to comfort or approval. It's rooted in truth. That's why they can speak boldly, that's why they can live freely. Their sense of self doesn't rely on where they are, only on who they are. Philosophy, you see, never promised to control the world for us. It doesn't promise riches or fame or a smooth road. Why would it? That would place its value in something it can't control, just as the carpenter works with wood and the sculptor with bronze. The raw material of philosophy is life itself. Your life, my life. The choices we make, the thoughts we entertain, the way we respond. And so, here's the real advice. Don't just admire wise words, you to apply them. Don't collect quotes like trophies. Live them, breathe them. Practice them in traffic, in arguments, in heartbreak. Find the teachings that speak directly to your heart, the ones that lift you up in real moments of doubt or fear, and make them part of how you live. Because the greatest failure isn't in being wrong, it's in knowing what is right and not living it. No one fails humanity more than the one who teaches virtue, but lives otherwise. At the end of the day, it's not what you bear, but how you bear it. You could leave this life at any moment. Let that simple truth guide what you say, what you think, and how you act. The task of life is not to control everything, but to clearly separate what belongs to fate and what belongs to you. What can you change? What must you accept? Good and evil do not reside in circumstances. They live inside you, in your values, in your decisions, in your will. Happiness isn't a future reward. It's the ability to enjoy what you have, without being held hostage by hope or fear. To be satisfied now with what is sufficient, because when you can say, I want for nothing, you have everything. Don't wish for life to go your way. Wish instead to embrace life as it comes, and suddenly you flow with it, not against it. And if someone shows you you're wrong, be glad. Correct yourself without pride. Because it's not about being right, it's about finding the truth. And truth never harmed anyone. What harms is clinging to illusion. When you pursue something noble through hard work, yes, the labor may be heavy, but it passes. And the good you gain, it endures. But chase pleasure through shameful shortcuts. And though the pleasure is brief, the regret may last a lifetime, because even a gem cannot shine without friction. If you wish to live with honor, strength, and peace, begin not by conquering the world, but by mastering yourself. No person becomes complete without trials. No soul is refined without resistance. So be forgiving toward others, but remain disciplined with yourself. None of us can have everything we want, but we can train ourselves to stop craving what we don't have, and to joyfully make the most of what is in our hands. You want the respect of others? Start by earning your own. Live in a way that you admire when no one's watching. And don't expect to inspire goodness in others if your own actions are steeped in contradiction. You can't light a fire with wet matches. One of the greatest realizations of any generation is this: you can change your entire life by changing your attitude. Excellence is never an accident. It's born from intention, discipline, and deliberate effort. Destiny is not something that happens by chance. It's the byproduct of the choices you repeat. We fear more often than we suffer. Our imagination wounds us deeper than reality ever could. But here's the truth. He who conquers himself conquers everything. So why weigh your burdens down further by complaining? Why replay your pain like an echo chamber? You don't have control over every event, but you do have control over your mind. Master that, and you'll find strength you never knew you had. Let your compass be clear. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Live in such a way that even your enemies would find nothing to expose, to awaken to your true self. You must let go of the mask you've worn for too long. A noble spirit cares more about what is true than what is popular. Speak less, listen more. After all, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. The obstacle? That's the path. What stands in your way becomes the way. Don't make 2 promises for something you can do once. And if you make a mistake, fix it. Refusing to correct it, that's just a second mistake. He who has a why to live can endure almost any how. Remember 2 things. First, everything has happened before and will happen again. Whether in 100 years or 1,000, the pattern remains the same. And second, both the one who dies young and the one who lives long ultimately lose only the present moment. And if the present is all you truly have, then live it. Because what you don't have, you can never lose. But maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of asking, what is the meaning of life? Ask, what is life asking of me? Because every day, life questions you, and your only answer is how you live. You can't stop what's coming with worry. No amount of anxiety changes fate, but the quality of your life. It will always mirror the quality of your thoughts. So perhaps the truest sign of a well-ordered mind is a person who knows how to be alone, in peace, with themselves. In the end, the greatest weapon we have against chaos is the ability to choose one thought over another. So speak only when your words will outshine your silence, and let philosophy, not as theory, but as lived wisdom, become your medicine, your compass, your calm. So if the meaning of life is not something to be asked, but something we must answer, then how shall we respond? Throughout time, different schools of philosophy have wrestled with the same question. Why do we suffer? For the cynics, it was society, its artificial rules, pressures, and conventions. For the Epicureans, it was the chase of false pleasures, illusions that promised joy but delivered emptiness. For the Stoics, suffering came from selfishness and the pursuit of comfort over character. For the skeptics, it was false beliefs, the mind's confusion between what is real and what is imagined. But despite their differences, all these Hellenistic philosophies shared one truth. Human beings fall into misery, not because of life itself, but because of ignorance. We suffer because we do not see clearly. Evil doesn't exist in things, but in how we judge those things. So what's the cure? Change your judgments. Shift your perspective. Only then can healing begin. Philosophy was never meant to be intellectual decoration. It was always meant to be therapeutic, a remedy for the soul, a path to clarity, a tool to realign us with life. And sometimes the simplest truths are the most powerful: simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are treasures greater than gold. When your thoughts and actions become simple, you return to the source of life. When you are patient with both friends and enemies, you flow with the nature of things. When you are compassionate, especially with yourself, you create space for healing and for peace. Taoism reminds us, life isn't about mastering the future or clinging to the past. It's about moving gracefully with the present, this infinite now, where God meets nature and yesterday dissolves into tomorrow. The art of life is the art of constant adjustment. So be content with what you have. Rejoice in what is. Because once you realize there is nothing truly lacking, the whole world opens up before you. See with your own eyes, not through the filter of others' expectations. Hear with your own ears, not with borrowed judgments. Speak what's truly in your heart, not just what will earn you applause. Think freely, feel deeply, act courageously, because if you constantly censor your senses, silence your thoughts, or shrink yourself to fit into someone else's mold, you're not just restrained, you're injured, body, mind, and soul. Break free from that. Reclaim your space, and you will begin to truly live. But be careful what you feed your inner world. Water your dreams with fear, and you'll grow weeds that choke them. But nourish them with hope, with clarity, with solutions, and they will bloom. Always ask yourself, how can this problem become a path? How can this challenge refine my dream? Remember, strength without softness breaks. A rigid branch snaps in the wind, but the flexible one survives. The wise know when to resist and when to yield. And often our peace and our progress depend on that knowing, because in the end, those who cannot suffer cannot live fully. But those who suffer with purpose transform pain into power and hardship into harmony. If wisdom is learning to yield, not to break, then perhaps the most courageous act is simply to remain still when the world demands reaction. There are moments in life when we can't change our situation, not yet, not today. In those moments, the strongest thing we can do is endure. Sometimes the only answer is to breathe, hold on, and wait for a better day. But when you do seek solutions, look for the root, not just the symptom. You don't fix a tree by painting its leaves. You go to the roots, the cause. To admit that we don't know, that's wisdom's beginning. To pretend we do when we don't, that's the real danger. Knowing others, that's intelligence. Knowing yourself, that's real wisdom. Mastering others, that's strength. But mastering yourself, that is true power. A rigid branch breaks in the wind, but the branch that bends survives. The same applies to you. Resist too hard and you will splinter. Learn how to yield and you will endure. Only the one who desires nothing can be trusted with everything. At the core of your being, you already know. You know who you are, you know what you want. But the noise of the world has buried that clarity. Life is a series of natural, unpredictable changes. Trying to resist them only creates suffering. Let reality flow. Let things be as they are, and you'll find peace in their unfolding. Kindness, too, is not a decoration. It is a force. A kind word builds trust. A kind thought deepens connection. A kind act gives birth to love. But the mind, it gets in the way. The moment you attach fixed ideas to reality, you stop experiencing it directly. Explaining enlightenment is like trying to bottle the wind. The moment you trap it, it's no longer wind. It becomes stale air, so travel light. Move through life like a good traveler. No rigid plans, no obsession with arriving. When you stop comparing, when you stop competing, when you're content to be you, everyone else will respect you for it. Yet most people look outward. They admire what others own. They chase what others enjoy. But they forget to look inward, to know, own, and enjoy themselves. That's why when the stakes feel high, they freeze. Play a game for fun? You're sharp and smooth. Play it for status or money. Suddenly, your hands tremble, not because you lost skill, but because you lost stillness. Lose your calm and you lose your power. Courage isn't just running into danger. Real courage, it's daring to live. To choose your own path even if the crowd walks the other way. To say no even when the world begs you to say yes. To stay unmoved in the face of praise or blame. The wise don't turn their heads for applause, nor do they shrink from condemnation. Why? Because neither adds nor subtracts anything from their true worth. When people are joined by profit, they abandon each other at the first sign of danger. But those who are joined in spirit endure. So let your mind wander in simplicity. Let your spirit stretch into the vast unknown. Stop clinging to personal judgment. Start flowing with life, because in the end, even the strongest pillar can destroy a wall. But it's useless for patching a tiny crack. Strength is nothing if it's not well placed, and not every tool is for every task. If the art of living means learning when to yield and when to act, then the highest wisdom lies not in control, but in alignment. A horse may gallop 1,000 li in a day, but when it comes to catching rats, it loses to a cat or a weasel. Why? Because skill is not universal. What is fast on the plains may be useless in the alley. What works in one place fails in another. That's the nature of difference, and the wisdom to see it. The horned owl can spot the tip of a hair at midnight. But come morning, with all the light in the world, it can't see a hill. Its gift is for night, not for day. Some things are not wrong or broken. They are simply different. So if you say, I will follow only what is right and do away with wrong, or I will seek only order and reject all disorder, then perhaps you haven't yet understood the true nature of life. That would be like saying, I'll follow heaven and erase the earth. Or, I'll embrace light and destroy shadow. But how can light exist without dark? How can order mean anything if there's never been chaos? The Tao flows like a river, spontaneous, formless. But even if you float with it, there's no harm in knowing where the rocks are. To steer with awareness is not to resist, it's to move with grace. Power, if held too tightly, turns into burden. Absolute power, it deadens. Even the gods, the stories say, tire of it. So they disguise themselves as people or fish or plants, just to feel life again. Travel is much like that. At its best, you forget you're a traveler at all. You stop seeking, and you simply see. When you no longer draw a line between you and the world, every mountain becomes your body, every lake becomes your reflection, every blade of grass, a whisper of your soul. The deepest kind of seeing is when there is no watcher, no separation between self and seen. Only oneness. To gain knowledge we add more each day. To gain wisdom we remove. Those who know speak little. Those who speak endlessly often miss the truth. Close your mouth, rest your senses, soften your sharpness, untie the mental knots. Let your dust settle. That's where clarity lives, in stillness. The Tao cannot be captured, labeled, or owned. You can't approach it or walk away from it. You can't use it for gain, nor harm it with force. It yields endlessly, and that's why it endures. Stop interfering. Let go of your need to manipulate, and life, like a forest after rain, will renew itself. If you can forget your body, your identity, if you can stop being a thing among things, then you may touch the vast, boundless unity that underlies all existence. The Tao is clear, but that clarity demands space. It requires you to empty yourself again and again of all clutter. Watch for your own ignorance. Notice how your mind leaps restlessly from one thought to the next. Return to the stillness beneath thought, because when nothing pulls at your mind, you return to awareness and to wholeness. When your attention becomes unified and rooted in the present, you touch something ancient, something real. That is the great restoration, and those who chase peace by force, who try to be still by willpower alone, they miss the point entirely. For true peace isn't found by effort, it's found when effort itself dissolves. When the mind is still, one not chasing, not resisting, it becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, the truth of who we are is finally revealed. As long as your body is restless and your mind unsettled, it is madness to seek refuge in the mountains, because even in the silence of nature, you will still be carrying the storm within. We try to understand the world by connecting events. When two things happen close together, we call it cause and effect. If one follows the other, we call it reaction. If they appear unrelated, we dismiss it as coincidence. And when we judge someone as deserving or undeserving, we name it reward or punishment. But perhaps none of these are absolute truths. Perhaps they are just reflections of how we think. Is there a hidden order beneath all things, ripples across a cosmic net? Or is life simply a dance of unrelated movements to which we assign meaning through belief? Lao Tzu once said, "It is all in how you think," and in meditation we begin to see this. When the mind is mastered, it becomes steady like the flame of a candle untouched by wind. In this stillness, the self reveals itself. One becomes the witness and the witnessed. The joy of this moment is not of the senses, but of the eternal truth behind them. You have the right to act, but not to cling to the fruits of action. Work, not for applause or outcomes, but for the act itself. Let your effort be pure, free from the hunger for reward, detach from success or failure. Because balance, not victory, is what yoga truly means. Work done with obsession is full of anxiety, but work done with surrender is full of peace. The moment you release attachment, you begin to tap into the knowledge of the eternal. Those who labor selfishly, who chase the outcome and forget the process, are never at ease. There are three gates that lead us to ruin: desire, anger, and greed. If you can let go of these, you unlock the doorway to liberation. You are not simply what you do. You are what you believe. What you believe you can become is what you become. So choose to believe in peace. Choose to believe in clarity. Detach from your cravings, and you will become rich in awareness. Because when you obsess over outcomes, desire begins to dominate. From desire comes attachment. Attachment gives birth to passion. Passion gives way to anger. And anger clouds the mind. When the mind is confused, it forgets. It forgets what matters. It forgets who you are, and when memory is lost, reason follows. And when reason collapses, so does the self. But all of this can be prevented by returning to the now. Look to this day, for it alone is life. Within this fleeting breath lies everything. The truth of your being, the fire of growth, the power of action, the quiet beauty of simply being alive. Yesterday? Just a dream. Tomorrow? A fragile vision. But today, if lived with presence, can make every yesterday a memory of joy and every tomorrow a light of hope. If each day is a doorway to awakening, then let today be the one where you return, not to the world outside, but to the stillness within. Look well upon this day, for within it lies the seed of all possibility. The light of the dawn doesn't just break the night, it offers salvation to those who are willing to see. The one who meditates upon the self, who turns inward and rests peacefully within, needs nothing more. For such a soul has already arrived, not at some distant destination, but in the quiet wholeness of their own being. When you perform your duty, not for reward, not for recognition, but as an offering to the divine, then your actions, no matter how worldly, remain pure. Like the lotus that rises untouched from muddy waters, you remain unsullied by the noise of the world. He who has mastered his mind remains steady in heat and cold, in success and defeat, in honor and shame. His peace is not the result of perfect conditions, but of perfect centeredness. Uplift yourself, do not abandon yourself, for the self is both your greatest ally and your fiercest enemy. It is both near and far. It is within every being, and yet beyond the grasp of even the keenest intellect. It is the mover of all that moves, and yet itself unmoving. It cannot be seen, and yet it exists in all forms. It is the destroyer, the preserver, and the unseen, source of all life. Dwelling in every heart, this light shines even in the darkest place. It is the light of all lights, the goal of all knowledge was and the essence of knowing itself. Better to walk your own path than to conquer the path of another, for no effort is ever wasted on your true journey. But when you try to live someone else's story, you invite fear and forget who you are. Without focus, there is no peace. Without peace, there is no clarity. Death is certain for the born, just as birth is certain for the dead. So why grieve for what is inevitable? Change is the law of the universe. From anger arises delusion. Delusion clouds the mind. Confusion shatters discernment. And when reason is lost, we fall. But endurance, that quiet, powerful endurance, is one of the highest disciplines, and to the one who endures, final victory always comes. So let us rise, not just to strive, but to be grateful. Maybe we didn't learn much today, but if we learned a little, that is still enough. If we didn't learn at all, Perhaps we stayed healthy. And even if we were ill, we are still here breathing. So let us give thanks, because gratitude is the purest form of wisdom. Remember, all that you are is born from your thoughts. You are shaped by them, sculpted by them. If you speak or act with a harmful thought, suffering will follow, like a wheel behind the ox. But if you act with kindness, with clarity, with a good heart, happiness will follow like a shadow, never leaving your side. And as for anger, holding on to it is like grasping a burning coal, intending to throw it at someone else. But you are the one who gets burned. So release it. Let it go. Let the fire die, so that your light may rise. If life begins in the present moment, then perhaps all we are truly asked to do is to fully arrive. One moment can shift your entire day. One single day lived with presence can transform your life. And one life, lived with clarity, kindness, and courage, can change the world. So be here, not in yesterday's regret, not in tomorrow's worry. Be where you are, or you will miss your own life passing you by. Kindness shouldn't be rare. It should be the rhythm of our breath, the thread that weaves through everything we do. It cares not about rushing to arrive. It is about traveling well. And to live a pure, selfless life is to walk gently, counting nothing as truly yours, even in the midst of abundance. Because what you think about, what you dwell on, what you constantly return to in your thoughts, becomes the shape of your awareness. Wisdom isn't in how much you speak. A wise person is not the one who always has the last word, but the one who carries peace, loves without fear, and walks lightly even through the storm. You won't be punished for your anger, you will be punished by it. Just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt. This path too has one taste, the taste of freedom. The root of suffering is attachment. Clinging to things, people, outcomes, or beliefs is what turns life into struggle. Your purpose is simple. Discover your world, then give yourself to it, one with all your heart. There is no fire like passion when it burns rightly. But there is no trap like hatred, no illusion as blinding as ignorance, no flood as destructive as greed. So don't lose yourself in the past. Don't disappear into dreams of a future. Bring your whole being into this moment, because happiness only blossoms in those who know how to recognize what they already have. At your core, beneath the noise, beneath the roles and identities, you are not separate. You are not small. You are the very fabric of life itself. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, you are not separate from existence, the past and future. They are illusions that play out now. Everything you've ever experienced and everything you ever will unfolds only in one place, the present. So what meaning does tomorrow have if you're not fully here today? Even if you lived for endless ages, to live for the future would still mean missing the point, because the meaning of life is not hidden in some mountaintop revelation. It is not buried in achievement. It does not demand that you earn it. The meaning of life is to simply be alive. It is so simple, so obvious, so available. And yet, we rush, we panic, we race forward as if life were something to be achieved, when in fact it is something to be received. And once you release the rigid stories of how you thought the world should be, you begin to see life is more fluid, more subtle, and far, far more miraculous than you ever imagined. If life is not about chasing answers, but about becoming still enough to hear the question, then perhaps the journey inward is the only one worth taking. You are not a separate observer. You are not an isolated mind looking out at a distant world. You are the aperture through which the universe is looking at itself. You are the eye of existence, open, aware, curious, and through you life explores itself. So when change comes, as it always does, don't fight it. Don't freeze. The only way to understand change is to plunge into it, to move with it, to join the dance and let it move through you. Scholar adds knowledge every day, but a true seeker, a student of Zen or Buddhism, tries to unlearn something each day, because clarity is not found in accumulation, but in peeling back the layers that no longer serve. The hermits, those who live in silence, they come to a realization. Go deep enough into solitude, into the forest, into stillness, and you begin to sense something undeniable. You are connected to everything. So if your obsession with the past and your anxiety about the future makes you less present here and now, you must ask, am I truly living, or merely remembering and anticipating? Meditation is not about escaping life. It's about arriving fully in the only place life ever happens, this moment. You won't find Zen on the mountaintop. You'll only find the Zen you bring up there with you, and muddy water, it clears best and when you stop stirring it. We all want to know what makes us tick. But strangely enough, we ourselves are the most elusive thing to understand. And when a problem refuses to be solved, perhaps the problem is the question itself. It's funny, isn't it? You become far less anxious when you feel free to be anxious. The same goes for guilt. It is in the resistance to the feeling that it grows, and if you truly are the universe expressing itself, then every breath you take is the echo of creation, and every choice you make shapes the whole. We often forget just how profoundly shaped we are by the world around us. Our social environment, subtle yet powerful, moves through us like invisible gravity. It's like smashing a bottle of ink against the wall. At the center, the ink is thick and dense, but as it spreads outward, it forms delicate, intricate droplets, and even at the furthest edges, patterns still emerge. That's us. You and I, sitting here as conscious beings, we are the elegant, complex expressions at the fringe of a very ancient explosion. From the heart of the Big Bang to the beating of your heart, it's all the same dance. You are not merely the result of the Big Bang. You are the Big Bang, still unfolding, still vibrating through time and form as you. But we've been conditioned to believe we are just the outermost ripple, that we're separate, that we're just individuals floating far from the source. What if that's not true? What if you're not a byproduct of the universe, but the universe aware of itself, through your eyes, through your voice, through your becoming? So when I see you, I don't just see a name, a body, a label. I see the original creative force manifested in your unique shape, moving toward me, speaking, breathing, wondering. We must remember, just as a snake sheds its skin, we must also learn to release the past, again and again. What you are now is built on what you've been, but what you will become is shaped by what you choose today. Like a mountain that does not bend to the wind, the wise remain steady, unmoved by praise, untouched by blame. And remember, thousands of candles can be lit from one single flame, and the flame never loses its light. So too, happiness never decreases by being shared. Your thoughts are not just passing clouds, they are bricks in the house of your reality. You become what you think, and when the mind is clear, joy follows you like a shadow that never leaves. Every morning we are born again, and what we do today is what matters most. Don't go searching for shelter outside yourself. The only true refuge is within. And before you speak, ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? No one can walk the path for you. No one can save you but yourself. You must take the steps. Health of mind and body doesn't come from clinging to the past or fearing the future, but from living this moment deeply, wisely, fully. A pot is filled drop by drop. So too the wise soul gathers goodness little, by little until the cup of life overflows. The undisciplined mind is like a wild horse. It resists, it rebels, it scatters. But a mind well trained, it becomes a friend, a tool, a doorway to peace. And if you find no one to walk with you, walk alone, because peace comes from within. Don't seek it elsewhere. Have compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. Because without self-compassion, your love will always feel incomplete. Hatred does not end hatred, only love can do that. That is the timeless rule. Your own unguarded thoughts, they can harm you more than anything else. There is no east, no west, no above, no below, only space, only mind. But we draw lines, we create stories. Then we believe those illusions to be truth. And if we do not care for others when they fall, who will care for us when we do? So be generous, speak gently, live simply, serve with compassion. Because in the end, an idea that remains only an idea means nothing. But an idea lived can change the world. Thank you for spending this time with Stoic Havenway. If something in this video touched your heart, stirred your thoughts, or offered even a moment of stillness, hold on to that. Let it grow. Here, we believe that you don't need to escape the world, you just need to return to yourself. In silence, in strength, in simple truth. If you found value in this message, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with someone who might need it today. We'll be back soon with more reflections, more calm, more light. Until then, walk gently, breathe deeply, and remember, even the quietest flame that still knows how to shine